we do want to talk about what I think is an important topic and something that can really help us as a people, help us as a community, really as a nation, the way things are going tonight. I want to talk about revisiting the idea of respect. Um, not trying to be old and wise and old sage, just trying to just kind of voice some opinions. And what I'd like to happen is at the end of this that you would have chatted your opinions in the chat room, whether it's YouTube, or Facebook, wherever you're seeing this. At least let me know what you're feeling about what we're saying tonight. But a couple of years ago, when Birdman was a guest on the radio show of Charlemagne, I think that's in Chicago, um, Birdman accrued a lot of attention to himself when he told the host, those that were gathered together, they better put some respect on his name. We all got a charge out of that. We all laughed about that for a little bit because of the way it was said. But the brother was really serious and addressing how they kind of messed around and made light of his name. He took it as a sign of dissing and disrespect. Um, the black, the truth is that in the black community, we have a general principle. Everybody at one point was treated with respect until they did something or said something that made them worthy of being shunned. But generally speaking, we've been a people who respected each other. It accounts for why we pretty much used to speak to each other, whether we knew each other or not. Wherever we saw each other, we spoke, we gave some kind of gesture. Gesture, it was out of respect for each other's humanity. But some people say that we should give respect freely. That is, no matter who the person is, you ought to respect them. Then there are other people that say respect must be earned. I'll be honest with you, and this is not a criticism, but I've heard that among more of the younger generations than anything else. I ain't respecting nobody unless they respect me. As an African American male who is steeped in our culture, in our families, in Christ, and in our community, I believe that respect should go both ways. I believe that you give it naturally, but I also believe that there are some cases where people must and need to earn respect. Um, the term for respect in the Holy Bible is honor. Now, some of you may not be interested in that, but I need to let you know that there are some principles that we are guided by, and our community has been guided by the principle. For example, we took very seriously the Bible admonition where it says, "Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long upon the earth, and so that you can live in the land that the Lord your God gives you." Our people took that seriously. Romans 12 and verse number 10 says, "Be kindly affectioned to one another with brotherly love." And then it says, "in honor." And that is probably better translated in respect, preferring one another. Now, respect doesn't mean to simply heap praise and accolades upon an individual. It really means to recognize and appreciate their value. That is, recognize and appreciate how necessary a person is to your life or to the lives of others. Respect means to appreciate a person's worth. And what I mean by that is you should appreciate and recognize the level at which someone really deserves to be valued. There are people who do some wonderful things. And then respect means to appreciate and recognize and appreciate a person's work, and meaning their efforts and their contributions to a family, to a community, or to a business. Respect is an important aspect, or has been an important aspect of what we have been as a race of people and as a culture. It never caused us to cower. It never caused us to pretend as though we were inferior to anybody else. Our respect simply was a token of our respect for life and another person's humanity. Our speech should generally be respectful in content and in tone. The content and tone of our speech affect our ability to facilitate a willingness to listen on the part of others. Um, Content and tone facilitate our understanding of each other, and they also inspire change in another person, or a person can inspire change in you by their content and by their tone. How you say something and what you say are both important aspects of any kind of communication. But we need to learn to be respectful of one another. And listen, everything that is considered respectful in one generation may not be considered respectful in another generation. For example, I could never accept the B word as a descriptor of females for being a token of respect. That word will always be a put down. I could never accept the N word as a friendly gesture between either blacks or whites speaking to blacks. That just would not happen. To me, that word signals the ultimate disrespect of one person who is in one racial group against another. But again, our speech should generally be respectful in content and tone because they affect our ability to facilitate a willingness on the part of others to listen, and also they inspire change in another person. Our behavior also should be, we should also be respectful of life itself and of property. You don't, back in the day, you didn't just go grab somebody's lawnmower because it was sitting in their yard and you wanted to cut your grass. No, you respected that as another person's property, and you rang the doorbell if they had a doorbell, or knocked on the door and asked if you could use it. Respect goes a long way. That's all I'm trying to say. But also, um, age and gender and general contributions to society or to family should all at some point be the focal point of showing respect. Um, we, we've got to get beyond ourselves and stop acting as if life anywhere just began to have value when we got there. I've seen that in our neighborhoods. I've seen it even in our churches where we behave as though nothing was happening, anything good was done in a particular neighborhood or in the church until we became the politician or until we became the preacher. Nobody ever did anything. You hear that statement all the time. Oh, they don't do anything. And you always hear it, you may hear it even in conjunction with this statement, they just need to move on because they ain't doing nothing. Well, we don't know everything, and so we don't really even know what people are doing. But respect for people who are of a decent age, and I shouldn't say decent, but of an elderly age, and respect of gender. You want to respect your women. I don't care who you are. Every boy, woman, and girl ought to respect somebody's gender. We respect how we speak to our men, and we ought to respect how we speak to our women. And we shouldn't even have to fight over it. I think respect can help us in a lot of ways. Well, respect can help all of us to make forward and positive progress. For example, respect can build the life of a person who might be falling through the cracks economically and socially. And here's how respect can help them because if you respect them, it means that you will not look down on them. And you might actually, because you respect that person, you might seek ways to aid and assist that person to getting up on their feet. But respect can build the life of a person who might be falling through the cracks economically or socially. Personally, respect for others can help us control anger. I hear us talk a lot, and I'm not trying to minimize anything with regard to psychology, psychiatry, and mental health. But some of the stuff that we deal with, some of the issues that we deal with, we can control with simple mechanisms called respect. We respect each other enough to control what we say, when we say, how we say it, and who we say it to. Respect can build self-esteem. You know, it can help us rather than saying something critical of somebody, whether it's because of the way they look or the way they dress, whether it's because of the texture of their hair. We can be respectful and find ways to build one another, because you remember the old song, beauty's only skin deep. You know. We want to build, we want to be respectful and help to build the self-esteem of our other brothers and sisters. I also believe that respect can save lives. Um, we really do need to consider and be respectful. Every life that is taken by another human being in violence, whether it's street violence or domestic violence, those lives disrespect the journey of the person or persons who are left behind, certainly of children who are left motherless and fatherless, and mothers who are left without their sons or daughters. That happens because we sometimes forget that we need to respect human life in general. But respect can also bring healing to a fractured family. I've seen families argue, and I've seen us tear each other up in families. Sometimes it can be just a matter of a little bit of respect that can help families begin the process of healing. And so I'm calling on us tonight to think about, how little it would take us to really start repairing and healing some of the ills that are wrong in our communities, in some of our communities. Can't say all of them. But anyway, respect can also contribute to and develop a safe environment. There's no sense for people to be afraid of themselves. That makes no sense. I was in a meeting in Washington, D.C. A couple of years back, and the president of the student body for Howard University was present, and we were dealing with the issue of um, people being afraid of black people. He stood up and he said, listen, he said, I consider myself to be as Afrocentric as anybody else. I love my people. And he said, but I'll be honest with you, if I'm out at 12:30, 1 o'clock at night and I see a group of guys, walking toward me in hoods, I get a little bit of fear. And what I'm saying is not to co-sign that. I'm simply saying that if we learn to respect each other, we can eliminate that kind of unnecessary fear and feel a sense of comfort when we are approaching and passing each other on the street. But respect can contribute to and develop a safe environment. It can also be the inspiration for creativity and innovation. And I'm going to let you go in just a minute, but I think this is important. It really is important for us to understand how disrespect stymies and locks down our potential for creativity and innovation. We have been a people who have historically been survivors, but we have not only been survivors, we have been inventors, we have been architects, we have been a little bit of everything. And when we are living in fear and we are in an environment where disrespect hampers our development, then we don't get the full benefit of all of the gifts that God has given to us. Well, let me hasten and say this, that respect can also lead to financial responsibility and economic well-being. I say that because I think that we ought to have a healthy, I don't think that we ought to be in love with money, but I believe that we ought to have a healthy valuation with respect to not only money, but wealth. And we have to respect when we get the opportunity to build or accumulate either money or wealth. We have to respect ourselves and the up and coming generation enough to know that they're going to need somebody to leave a trail for them for success. And you and I, if we can get a grip on our financial situations, our financial responsibility, and our economic well-being, we can begin planning for the future of our children, whether it's in the urban context, the rural context, or wherever we may be. Um, and so again, I urge you and encourage you to be respectful. Finally, let me end in saying this: while morality guides our behavior, respect enables us to behave in ways that build instead of destroy. Respect helps us bring happiness and contentment instead of dread or horror and anxiety. Respect brings life instead of death. I think the Queen of Soul had it right some years ago when she first sang that song. She spelled it out, Respect. Find out what it means to me. Respect. Take care. TCB. That is for those of you that know. Take care. It's not too late, my brothers and sisters, for us to do something to save ourselves, to help ourselves, and to make our communities worldwide better. But we need a little respect to do that. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be nice. All you have to do is be honest. I'd like to know how you feel about us working on the idea of building respect or building our communities and our opportunities by using that simple life building block of respect. God bless you. Love you. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight.